The wisdom of your ancestors should be ignored. Let me explain. I am an entrepreneur. Back in May 2022, I left my full-time job to go all in on my coaching business full-time. I never felt like I was meant to work for somebody else, that somebody else was supposed to decide my value. I wanted to generate my own income. I wanted to do the work I wanted to do. In fact, this is my second attempt at going all in on entrepreneurship. Back in 2016, I also left my full-time job to try and build an event production business. I remember a very specific moment that I was sitting in my car in the parking lot of that job on the phone with my mom. And I was so excited because I had figured it out. I had figured out how I was going to pay for my life without that full-time job. I was going to bartend over here and nanny over there and Airbnb my apartment on the weekends and just let the new event clients just roll on in. I was psyched to tell her the plan, and I expected her to be supportive and proud that I had figured it all out. When I was done telling her, I heard silence. And then I heard, Mary-Theresa, I just want you to consider teaching. My heart dropped. Now, I love teachers. I have nothing against them. My brother and sister-in-law are teachers. My best friends are teachers. My mom was a teacher. They are all superheroes. Amazing, brilliant, creative, and patient. I do not possess the superpowers required to do what they do. I said to my mom, how could you say that to me? And she said, Mary-Theresa, teachers get pensions. So, in that moment, my mom was revealing two stories to me. One about teaching and one about entrepreneurship. Her story about teaching was that teaching equaled a pension, which equaled safety. Her story about entrepreneurship was that entrepreneurship equaled no pension or no retirement support, which equaled risk, which equaled unsafe. Now, my mom was doing the best that she could with the information that she had. Basically, she was just trying to keep me safe. Her 30-something single, adventurous daughter who loved to switch things up and do nothing the traditional or safe way of doing it. And these stories that she had about entrepreneurship and teaching, they lived deep within her subconscious mind. In that moment, she was just trying to keep me safe and secure. And she likely wasn't even aware of them. They were stories that lived deep within her subconscious mind and that had been passed along to her from generations before. Stories that had been dictating her decisions, possibly her whole life, up until that moment when she was trying to pass them down to me. So, I had a decision to make. I could either take on those stories as my own and get the job for the safety of a pension, or I could decide that those stories did not belong to me. I could decide that the wisdom of my ancestors needed to be ignored. Maya Angelou said that you do the best you can until you know better. And then once you know better, you do better. Thankfully, in that moment, I knew better. I knew I didn't have to take on those stories as my own. I knew I could do it different. I also knew that thanks to the internet, I had access to information and resources that my parents and their generations before them just did not have. And I also knew that as a woman living in the 21st century, I had more access to opportunity than ever before to be whoever I wanted to be, to do whatever I wanted to do, and to create a life that aligned with my purpose. So here's the thing about the stories, agreements, and belief systems we all carry. For the most part, we have no idea what they are. Neuroscientists now believe that 95% of our thoughts are unconscious. If you're making over 35,000 decisions a day and 95% of them, you have no idea what they are. That's over 33,250 decisions every single day that we are making, and we just have no clue. So for example, have you ever been driving down the street and you're thoroughly enjoying your conversation, just driving along, and all of a sudden you're pulling into your driveway? How did you get there when you don't even remember taking the turn onto your street? Your subconscious mind got you there. The mindset framework states that our programming creates our thoughts, and our thoughts create our emotions, and our emotions create our actions, and our actions create our results. So this means that everything you see on the outside is a byproduct of what's happening on the inside. So, if you don't like the things that you see on the outside, your career, your health, your finances, your relationships, guess what? You created it. I bet you're wondering, how the heck did I create all of this? You created it with the stories, the belief systems, and the agreements that you hold deep within your subconscious mind. But I have good news. Now that we know that we created all of this, we get to take radical responsibility and change it. Because in theory, if you can change your programming, you can change your results. I believe this is the true path to taking the passion of the past in order to fuel our future. Now, the first step in any transformation is that you have to be aware of what that programming is in the first place, which is where the real work begins. You have to learn how to communicate with your subconscious mind and ask big questions like, what is the story I'm telling about myself today? Or, where did this belief system come from? Is it mine to keep? And then you have to really listen for the answer. Communicating with your subconscious mind takes practice, but it is a skill you can master over time. And when you walk away tonight, I want you to walk away with not only a new way of thinking, but a new skill that you can put into action and practice the moment you leave here tonight. I want to teach you how to communicate with your subconscious mind, okay? All right, so the first thing I want you to know about your subconscious mind is that it likes speed. It wants you to ask the question quickly and clearly, and it will answer you just like that. Now, don't question the answer that you hear or feel when you get it, just to let it be. And so let's practice. Okay, so if you feel called, you can go ahead and close your eyes, maybe put your hand on your heart. And if you'd like, you can say the answer out loud, take a big deep breath, and ask your subconscious mind, what is a number 1 through 10? Got it? Great. Congratulations. You just communicated with your subconscious mind. That's exactly how you do it. You ask the question, and you listen for the answer, and you'll hear it the same way you just heard the number. Now, I have another question for you. How many of you heard the number and stuck with it? And how many of you heard a number and chose something else? So, that first answer was your subconscious mind, your truth. That second number, we'll call it your ego, trying to second guess you, trying to keep you safe, maybe even small. The lesson here is that you are going to have to pay attention when you are communicating with your subconscious mind, that your ego isn't trying to overpower your truth. For me, I had to distinguish between my truth, wanting to work as my own boss, or my ego, the safety of a pension from the past. Can you see why I say this work takes time? It's a pattern interrupt, one that can be messy and confusing and sometimes very challenging. But if you allow it, it can open up the door to everything you might have been missing out on in life. I want to leave you with one last thought. Last summer, I went to a retreat, and one of the speakers asked this question from the stage, and it was pretty impactful for me, so I wonder if it might be for you as well. She said, "What if you are the answer to your ancestors' prayers? What if my ancestors were actually the first to say, I'm not meant to work for somebody else, to let somebody else decide my value. I want to generate my own income. I want to do the work that I want to do, but I don't know how. I'm too limited. I'm too scared. Please, God, let there be another way." And that prayer was answered with me. Somebody who has access to the resources and information and opportunity. Somebody with the audacity to get curious and consider that maybe a job with a pension isn't all it's cracked up to be. Maybe I'm supposed to do it different. So, this is my question to you as you leave here tonight. What are you going to do? Are you going to take the job for the safety of a pension? Or are you going to get curious and connect with your inner wisdom and subconscious mind and those belief systems and agreements and stories that you carry deep within, and decide that starting today, you are going to be that answer to your ancestors' prayers that will impact generations to come? I know what I'm going to do. How about you? Thank you.